serious is this?
There is a move to bring about Muslim enclaves, which can mean different things in different places. In France, there's a documentation that there are 751 no-go zones. It doesn't quite mean that it's Muslims only, but it means the state stays away. In other countries, particularly in Britain and here in the United States, one sees the development of Muslim-only residential areas. Not no-go zones, but if you're not Muslim, you shouldn't be there. You're not welcome there. Alcohol is not welcome there. And other perfectly legal, within Canada, legal activities are either frowned upon or kind of implied to be illegal in those zones. I think that's unhealthy. I don't think, I mean, of course people tend to flock together and that's fine, but to make it Muslim only, no, that's not acceptable.
Okay, we're going to have to go for another break. Something else you've been seeing in the news, the move to build a mosque on ground zero. Many Muslims have been speaking out saying this is a good thing because it improves relations between Muslims in the community, but others are saying, no, this is something much deeper and something much more sinister. That's something we're going to be addressing after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to our discussion about the threat of radical Islam to the West and to Israel. Dr. Daniel Pipes is my guest today. The issue of building a mosque on ground zero, some saying it's a good thing, that it improves relations between Muslims and the West. Others saying, no, there's something much more sinister behind that plan. Dr. Pipes, I'd like to know what, you have studied Islamism, you know the various meanings, and I'd like to know what your verdict is on this one.
Well, there's a lot of emotion about it. I look at it rather coolly. It's called the Ground Zero Mosque, but in fact it's a few blocks away. You know, it's said that this is a sacrilege of sacred ground. I don't know. Doesn't convince me. What I look at in this case, as in every case where an Islamic institution is being planned, is who's behind this? And are they on our side or on the other side? The New York Police Department put out a report a couple of years ago, very, very good report, that pointed out that the problem is radicalization in the Islamic institutions. The authorities are bringing, especially the young, in the direction of extremism, of jihad. And that's the first danger. So in that spirit, is the imam and are the funders of this very ambitious mosque said to cost Islamic complex said to cost $100 million? Are these the sort of people we want influencing, not just the young? Well, to make a long story short, no, they're not. Looking at the statements and the associations and the funding, I would say this is not what we want. And the fact that it's close to ground zero, to me, is a bit immaterial. I would feel the same way no matter where it was. So, and I have come out against other institutions for precisely the same reason. If it truly is moderate, and if it is anti-Islamist, if it's on our side of this war, welcome. If you're on the other side, if you're an enemy, no.
When it comes to the young, CSIS issued a warning a couple years back talking about the rapid jihadization of youth. The NYPD had a 4-step process on how that takes place, and within that there was a mention of alienation, a break somehow within their psychological being between how they fit in the West, how they feel perhaps not accepted, making them more prone to joining these jihadist groups that are very aggressive on the internet and have many ways of recruiting. Do you have particular concerns about the youth today in this regard?
Indeed, and it's not just alienation. Alienation is certainly one route, but it can be companionship. It can be that you are in an institution which leads you down this path, and you're not particularly thinking about it, and suddenly you realize you're a jihadi. And in a few cases, individuals said, wait a minute, you know, where have I arrived to? And stop it and return. But it's it's not just alienation, in other words. It can also be companionship or yet other motives. There are a complex of reasons why a Muslim or a non-Muslim, when one finds non-Muslims attracted to the violence or to the companionship or to the ideology, it is the outstanding, cohesive, compelling, radical ideology in the globe today.
Interesting, because we've done programs on gang life and that brotherhood, which is what unites these people together. Any potential solutions on curbing that?
Well, this is not my area of expertise, but I can point to the fact that certainly in the United States, a number of the gangs are associated with the Nation of Islam, the 5%ers, and other very radical groups, because it amplifies their cohesion. It amplifies their feeling outside of mainstream society. It's very, very compelling. It's very attractive.
There has been talk, at least in Canada, of de-radicalization programs. Now the big question is, who's going to be operating these? Do you have concerns about these programs that are being advertised as a possible solution to this?
I have no objection to trying to de-radicalize, but from what I can tell, looking at the initial ones in Yemen and then Saudi Arabia and then all over the place, both in Muslim-majority countries and in the West, there's no particularly good record of this. No. The occasional individual might switch, but overall it's very difficult.
The issue of emotions, nothing hits it stronger than the issue of Israel. The Gaza blockade, it keeps coming up. Palestinian sympathizers blaming Israel for the plight of the Palestinians.